My dog wanted to come downstairs and she's here now. Welcome back to my channel, guys. This is Brian, and today we're going to be talking about my stats that got me to schools like Stanford, Duke, Cornell, UC Berkeley, and other schools. If you guys haven't seen the reaction video, make sure to go check that out. I think I'm going to add the video right here. Before I begin, I just want to preface my entire video saying stats don't really matter as much as you guys think. And especially because I grew up in an Asian community and I went through these like Asian prep academies, tutoring stuff. So there was a lot of pressure to get like really good stats and like try to get the perfect score. And I think a lot of that comes from like Asian cultures in Korea and China, where they have like one exam that gets them into college. Like Korea, they have this exam called the PSAT, and that basically determines where you go to college. And I think that carries over to our parents, and the parents think, oh my god, we need a really good score to get to college. But I just want to tell you straight up, I really don't think that's the case, especially for American colleges. A lot of times I see a lot of Asian kids especially spend so much time trying to get like 10 more points on their SATs, or try to get like 1 more point on their ACT, and they spend like a month studying for that, while they could be spending that time to something else that's much more valuable. So I just want to warn you guys, don't worry too much about SAT scores and your ACT scores. And especially because now, because of the coronavirus, the colleges are going to be very understanding of your circumstances. Like if you can't take a test this summer because of the coronavirus, colleges are going to actually look less at your scores. I mean, some people argue that you're going to stand out more, but I think that's again just like a flaw in like our mentality, where we're focusing so much on the like 10-20 points on our standardized testing. So I just want to say that out loud, so tell you guys, so not make the mistakes that I did. So I'm gonna talk about it later on, but that's it. That's my 2 cents on stats and numbers. It's only, you just have to beat a threshold, and that's it. You don't need to reach a perfect score. Obviously, the higher the score, the better, but that doesn't mean it justifies the time you're gonna spend to raise your points by like 20 SAT points. So I hope that's pretty clear. And without, more introduction, I'm just going to go straight into my stats. So let's talk about my GPA first. So I was ranked, well, when I submitted my application, I had to report my ranks in deciles because my school does not report individual rank. So my rank was top 10% of the class of 270 students, and my weighted GPA that I reported to the college was 4.4688 in a 4.0 scale. Or some people say 5.0 scale, but basically that's the weighted scale. So I had that GPA, so that's the GPA I had when I was applying to colleges, meaning like that's what I had based on like junior year up to the end of junior year. My GPA, my weighted GPA at the time of recording, which is the GPA that my guidance counselor sent out as a mid-year report, is 4.4909 in a 4.0 scale for weighted, and 3.9546 on a 4.0 scale for unweighted. So let's talk about the SAT. So I was lucky enough to go to SAT prep place, or Hagwon as the Korean community and the Asian community calls it. And my score was 1540. I got a 740 on the English portion, and I got 800 on the math portion. And I did take the essay, and I got a 20 on the essay in that same testing. But strangely enough, that was my first SAT testing, and that ended up being my best score. I took it 2 more times. I did worse both times. So like I said in the beginning, don't worry too much trying to raise your scores a little bit. You might actually do worse. And I think the reason why I did worse is because I think I stopped really studying as hard as I did before, and that just reflected on my actual official testing. I got a 1520 after, and I got an even worse score on the next seating. So I used my first seating score to send to colleges. So let's talk about the SAT subject test. If you're a freshman or a sophomore watching right now, please don't make the same mistake I did and take the SAT subject test now. Finish it sophomore year, like by at least end of sophomore year. So I took math level 2, math 2C or whatever people call it. I got an 800 on that test. I think I took that like sophomore year. I think I took that December of sophomore year. And I was supposed to finish US history by end of that year, because because I was taking AP US History. I wanted to finish US History SAT subject test too. But what happened was after my AP test, I stopped studying for US History. So I ended up taking the US History test beginning of my senior year. And I got a 750 on that. And that was probably the hardest I've studied in like a long time. Yeah. I was doing college apps, but I also had to study for the test. So make sure if you're a sophomore or a freshman, take that test now. And I also messed up, and because I was applying to Georgetown, I needed 3 subject scores. Well, they now say strongly recommend, but they always required 3. So I wanted to take the easiest thing I could just get done and like move it out of my way. So I took math level 1, and this is kind of funny because I got a 770 on my math level 1, but I got an 800 on math level 2, which is harder. So it probably looked a little weird to Georgetown, but I think they didn't care as much. So I was really nervous about that going in. I was like, oh my god, it's gonna look like my math skills deteriorated. But actually, like, colleges don't care that much. And I still got into Georgetown. So I think that just shows you stats really mean nothing. You know? Stats is just something to like put your application on their table. You know, you just have to beat a certain threshold. That's not what's gonna make a difference in your application. Because let's think about it. How many kids can you fill these schools up with like perfect scores? I think I read a stat that like Stanford, for example, they could fill their class 4 times over, or was it 7 times? Like they could fill their class over and over with kids that have perfect GPA and perfect SAT score and perfect subject test. Like that's crazy. You know what I mean? So stats really shouldn't matter so much. So I do want to talk about my APs. So I took a lot of AP courses, and I think that also reflected really well on my application because in the last 4 years, including this year, I took a total of 10 APs. Also, that's my dog grunting. She likes to grunt. I don't know why. But anyways, so I took 10 total APs since freshman year. So freshman year, I wasn't allowed to take any APs. And going into sophomore year, our school went through a lot of changes, and there were a lot more APs available. And I was able to take AP US History, AP Chemistry, and AP US Government. I think I was the only one in my grade that took 3 APs. And I don't know why I did that, to be honest, looking back. I really regret taking like AP Chemistry. But anyways, so on the AP US History test, I got a 5. I had a really hard teacher, but I also love her, and she did write my recommendation. And my second test was AP US Government. I also love that teacher. I really love that class. I think it's still my favorite class in high school so far. And I also got a 5 on that test. And I also took AP Chemistry exam. I got a 2. I hated chemistry. Yeah, let's just not talk about it. I was actually gonna take chemistry subject test, but as I was studying for that too, I just really hated the subject, and I felt myself like driving myself crazy. So I said, okay, I'm done with chemistry. And I think I like honestly gave up on the AP exam. So in junior year, I took AP World History, I took AP Calc AB, and I took AP Physics 1. So for my AP World History exam, I got a 5. I love that teacher too. He was very like, you know, he was really real with us from the beginning. He said, you know, I'm gonna teach this class so you guys can get a 5, not so you guys can memorize everything in your world history. And that's what he did, and I got a 5. And AP Calc AB, I had a very like committed teacher who made us stay after school like every week. I got a 5 on AP Calc AB. AP Physics 1, I honestly thought I was gonna get a 5, but I got a 4. Actually, that exam was crucial. So during my college application process, I was like deciding between political science and business, or like business and like engineering. You know, I was really torn between kind of like social sciences and engineering. And I was like, okay, if I get a 5 on AP Physics, I'm gonna go for engineering. But I didn't get a 5 on AP Physics, so I was like, alright, whatever. So I guess like engineering just isn't my thing. So I went social sciences in my application strategy. So this year I'm taking AP Statistics, AP Literature, AP Spanish, and AP Environmental Science. And in beginning of the year, I actually had AP Calculus BC. So that would have been in total 11 APs. But I actually dropped AP Calculus BC and took Dual Enrollment Sociology. And I made that choice because I did feel like I was going to get overwhelmed, especially in the beginning of the school year, with the college application essays that I have to write and the course load of 5 APs, it was getting overwhelming. And also, like I said, I made that decision of, going social sciences instead of engineering. And I realized like I would enjoy my time much more taking sociology rather than, being in Calculus BC, because it was pretty hard. Some people are like, oh, you could have gotten that extra credit, like the extra AP credit, but whatever, it's fine. So yeah, that is all my stats. Let me just end again emphasizing this point. Stats matter to some degree. Don't get me wrong. Like, you have to beat a certain threshold to be competitive at these like really high level colleges. And I think that is why like so many people put emphasis to it. But say for example, if you have a 1480 on SATs, or if you have like a 1500 on SATs, please don't spend like another month studying for the SATs and taking that test. Like, okay, if you don't have to study and you just want to take the test, fine, go ahead. But don't spend like hours taking more practice tests just to raise it by like 10 to 20 points. You could be spending that time working on your passion. You could be spending that time tailoring your essay. You could be spending that time changing your resume up so it looks nicer, or you could be spending the time in so many different ways. You could be making a YouTube video, like, I don't know, you could be doing these creative things instead of sitting on your desk grinding to raise like 10 to 20 points. It really doesn't make a difference. 10 to 20 points. Okay? And I think a lot of people say like, oh, there's a difference between a 1500 and a 1580. For sure, there is. But after a certain threshold, you are still considered competitive. You're still considered academic and intellectually competitive after a certain threshold. Hey guys, sorry, my SD card was full, so I had to restart the video towards the end. But what I was trying to say is, at bigger schools, yes, numbers might matter a little more because they want to raise their like average like SAT scores. They want to raise their average GPA to be ranked higher. But that's just all speculation, and that's just like what I'm thinking, and I don't have any confirmation for it. But for Ivy League schools and for schools that have like 40,000 applicants, that have like 30,000 applicants, stats aren't everything that's gonna matter to your application. Stats is just gonna be like a tiny portion to prove that you can handle their academic rigor. So that being said, don't worry too much. Stop stressing over your numbers. Spend that time doing something meaningful. Spend time with family, spend time with friends, and spend time doing things you love instead of, sitting on your desk trying to raise your points by 10 to 20 points. Okay? Please, spend your time wisely and not waste it on stupid tests. As much as I am thankful to College Board, because I guess like they technically allowed me to go to these schools, but I also really don't like them for what they're doing and the whole test prep industry, because they make you think numbers are everything. And that's coming from somebody that's went through it, and I really hope you guys don't have to go through the same mistakes that I did. So thank you for watching. Please be healthy both physically and mentally in the middle of this coronavirus crisis, and I'll see you guys in the next video.